Hi everybody, it's Oksana. Today I'm going to show you how to make this Tree of Life pendant that has a frame around it. The previous one that I have done had the frame hidden in the back. So if you want to make it with the frame around it on the sides here, then this tutorial should help you with that. And before I proceed, I just want to let you know real quick, this little eye right here, if you click on it, you can support me so I can keep making these free videos for you. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is a heavy gauge piece of wire. I'm using raw copper, dead soft, round wire. This is 16 gauge. I got it from Monster Slayer. And this is about 13 inches. It really depends on the shape and size of your stone. So my stone is about 2 inches. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to shape my wire. It's probably easier to do like on the table, but I'm going to do it up in the air for you guys and then fix it. Just shape your wire to make frame that will go around your stone. Yeah, I really can't do this very well in the air. So, like so. You want this frame to just be slightly larger than your stone. You want just a little bit of room around the edges. And what you want to do then is just bend these wires here using your pliers so that it can be the bail. So go ahead and see how that's looking. I want my bail to be wide like this. That's why I'm holding my wires this way. So then what you want to do is just to, have this frame be secured in this shape is go ahead and weave your bail. Optionally, you can hammer this frame, just lightly tap it with a chasing hammer. You also need an iron block to do this on, and that will just kind of strengthen the metal, and then it's going to prevent it. Like, see how right now mine, I hold it like this, but then it kind of springs backwards. If I hold it like this and I hammer it, it's not going to spring backwards anymore. So that's just an optional step that you can take. So now taking some 26 gauge wire, and I'm just going to, hold this to keep the distance that I want. And I'm going to weave my bail. So what I'm doing is I'm holding this wire, and you can do whatever pattern you like. You can, have these two wires right next to each other together. But what I'm going to do is wrap once around the bottom, once around the top. Then I'm going to go around both wires twice like this. 1, 2. Then I'm going to go once around the bottom, bring it up the back, once around the top, and then again 1 and 2 around both wires. So that's the pattern that I'm going to do, and you just want to do that for however long you need to do it for, however tall you want your bail to be. So I will be right back. Let me show you this up close first. So here's the weave up close, and of course, yes, I'll move it down. It's up high right now because I was holding it here. And you want to make sure these wires are spaced nicely for you. Luckily, this is a pretty thick gauge, so they're not going to move around easily. It's not too hard to keep them evenly spaced out. So once that's tall enough for your bail, you want to finish off by just doing some single wraps here. And then go ahead and cut your weaving wire. Pinch that down. There we go. So then you want to make your bail. So let me separate these wires a little bit so my weave doesn't start to slide up. As I'm making my bail, I'm also going to test real quick just to make sure that it's still a good frame for my stone. Nothing like got shifted around or anything. So I am just going to bend this around these bail making pliers. There we go. All right, so these wires here are needed to secure the back. I want our pendant sliding out the back. So you can make whatever kind of like shape or design you want, but I'm basically just bending these wires. There we go. Because the ultimate goal is that you want them to cover the back well. Like, you don't want to keep them to one side or just secure them on the bottom or something. You want them to secure the back well so your stone can't pop out. So I'm going to need to cut these a little bit. And now I'm just going to make a little loop to finish this little end of the wire so it's not sharp or pointy. And that is it. You want to make sure that these things touch the frame. So the places where I'm going to secure these to the frame, and the securing part is going to happen when I make the tree, you can secure ahead of time if you would like, if that makes things easier for you. But it's going to be right here for me, right here, and then here and here. So when I'm attaching my tree, and I'll show this to you guys, I'm going to use my roots to wrap around these 4 points. And then once my back is secured, my stone's not going to be able to fall out the back. Alright, so the next thing you're going to need is some 24 gauge wire, and I cut 14 pieces of it. So what I like to do is just kind of hold my piece next to it, and this is too long. We're going to have like extra ends to cut off, but I guess this is about twice as long as my stone, and I would just rather have longer pieces. It gives me like the flexibility to do different things, whatever I want with the branches and the roots of the tree. So I'm just making sure that they all start in the same point. This is going to be my roots. So I'm going to go ahead and start twisting. This is, or just making the tree, if you've seen my other video where the tree is on the stone but the frame is hidden in the back, versus the way I'm doing it now where the frame is around it. It's basically the same thing. So just go ahead and twist your wires and make little branches. You can do, you know, a different number of branches. You can do it like in that video where I just kind of like had the tree split in half. But this time I'm not doing that. This time I'm just doing all kinds of random branches for like a messier looking tree. And by the way, as you're doing this, you do want to keep in mind the size and shape of your stone. Maybe even just periodically kind of hold your tree over the stone to make sure you're not making any branches too long or anything like that. So pretty much done here. Just gonna finalize this top portion, and then we can go ahead and attach this tree to our pendant. And to attach it, I'm going to be using this painter's tape, and I'm taking my tree and I'm just kind of squishing it for now, just so it's easier to hold. I'm taking a big piece of tape, and what you want to do is you want to have the tape up high. And so you have the tape, you have your stone, and then you have your tree. So the bottom portion is free of tape because that's where I'm going to be attaching my roots, and that's the first thing that I'm going to attach is the roots before I do any branches. And you just kind of press it down, and the tape should hold. And then you want to just separate out your roots. It'll just make it easier for you to attach them. And you can kind of twist some of these together as well, the way I did with the branches, but I'm actually not going to do that. Just kind of leave them all separate as they are. So the only thing to keep in mind here, let me start with just like a central one, is when you're attaching roots right next to these loops, we're going to also attach the loop. So first I'm attaching this one here, and you want to kind of like be firm but gentle. If you pull super hard with all your might, you might, you know, mess up the shape of the frame, or you might move your whole tree out of place. So it just takes some practice getting it right. So I'm taking this one now just to show you how to attach this little loop, and I'm putting it through the loop first before I put it through the frame. So like this, and then I'm gonna wrap it around the frame a few times. There we go. I thought I wasn't going to get that through there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and attach all the roots. And one thing to keep in mind, if you want your roots to be straight the way that they are now, of course leave them. Or if you want them to be curvy, you can use either the pliers that I was just using or some round nose pliers and curve them. Now the reason I'm telling you this now is because you may want to do this now as you're attaching them, because sometimes when you attach them and they're all right on top of each other, it's really hard to get to them. So curving them like this one by one sometimes is a little easier. Alright, so when you're done with the roots, you can take your tape off. And this is something that you can do now or at the very end, but eventually when you're almost done, you want to cut all of your little wires short. And let me zoom in here so you can see better. And then you just kind of like pinch down those little ends. I like to do this after I curve all the roots and branches because if you do this before, as you curve them, they might get pulled, and these like ends that you're pinching down might get like unrolled, if you know what I mean. So this next part, you kind of have to rely on your fingers to hold the stone in, since we got rid of the tape, but you can put tape on the bottom to hold the stone if you want. I'm kind of used to just holding it with my fingers, so I'm not going to bother with tape. But what you want to do is separate, just like we did with the roots, is get the exact placement on these. I'm actually gonna undo this a little bit. There we go. Like that. So then once you're happy, the shape and everything, is you want to make sure your stone is in the right spot there, and I find that it's easiest to attach the very top first, and that kind of helps hold everything, and then you can kind of be more relaxed and you don't have to hold the stone as much. It'll kind of stay in for the most part. So by the way, I forget if I mentioned it when I was doing the roots, but I like to do maybe 3-ish, these little wraps when you're wrapping the roots or the branches around the frame. Alright, and when I'm doing the branches that are on the sides that are next to right here, I'm just going to attach that wire, and that will close up the back so our stone won't be able to fall out the back. Alright, so it's a lot more secure now. So let me see what would be the closest wire here. Probably this one here. So I would just wrap around both first to connect them, and then I would wrap just around the frame a few times. And same deal with the wavy branches. You can leave them straight or you can make them wavy. Totally up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and attach them all. I see my stone kind of slipped. You do have to keep track of it and push it back in place. Sometimes you'll attach one side and it'll kind of push it out, but then when you attach this side, it'll kind of push it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish attaching it. Alright, so here's the finished piece. I attached and curved all of the branches and cut the wires here, pinched them down. So here's what the back ended up looking like, and here's what the front ended up looking like. So I am going to oxidize this piece, and I'll show you guys what it ends up looking like. I do have a video on how to oxidize rock copper. Here's what the finished piece looks like after it has been oxidized. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.